I'm so pleased to be sitting here today with Carrie Host, a fellow metastatic carcinoid cancer patient. Carrie and I met at an event a few years ago for carcinoid and related neuroendocrine tumor patients. At the time I met Carrie, her youngest son William, and her wonderful husband Amory. Carrie and I began talking as patients about our hopes and our dreams for the future. Carrie told me that she was in the process of planning to write a book about her experiences with metastatic carcinoid cancer. I am so happy to be able to congratulate Carrie and announce that Carrie's memoir, Between Me and the River, will be published by Harlequin Press's new nonfiction division in just a couple of months. Congratulations, Carrie.
Thank you so much.
Carrie, you are a young mother of 3. William, your newborn, was 10 months old. You were an author, a poet, an active member in your community. What inspired you to write Between Me and the River?
Started with receiving a diagnosis that was so serious that I was basically told that I had 18 to 36 months at best to live in the condition I was in at that point, pre-surgery. And at that point I didn't know exactly what my options would be and how they would turn out. So going with that information, I started thinking about the children, of course, immediately, but in the long term, oh my gosh, my oldest child, Chanel, will be 39 one day. And she'll say, my gosh, Mom was 39 when this all started? What happened to her? What happened to Mom, and what was this all about? And she won't know. And it really bothered me, and I thought about my sons and the fact that they would have questions maybe different than hers, but all the same, what was this about for Mom? And I wanted to answer that. I wanted to leave them with that information. And as I started to write that, it was more like a love letter to the children. And then I realized, wow, there's a lot that goes unsaid. What is that? And I hope I've captured that in the book.
Wonderful. And what do you think, having written this book that I feel is universal in its appeal to all cancer patients and people with facing any kind of life-threatening disease, what do you think all cancer patients should know after reflecting on this and finishing your book?
Well, that is an easy answer for me to give. I think all cancer patients should know that it's perfectly all right to have hope, regardless of what your doctors are telling you.
Carrie, I think that is such an important message. It's very easy to have natural reactions of anger and deep sadness, but at the same time, cancer patients need hope. And I think it is so important to allow yourself to believe in hope and to have that hope that you will have good days and you can persevere. And that your message resonates strongly with me because that's why I started the Caring for Carcinoid Foundation. I wanted to give patients hope. It is so important.
Yes, and it does that very much so, because for me in particular, I found there was so little, actually nothing available for me as a carcinoid patient. I mean, my first experience in the hallways was the breast cancer group, the ovarian cancer, all the really well-known groups and all the runs and all the events and all the magazine ads and everything are for those, and that's wonderful because we want research in all these areas, but I did feel really lost.
Yes.
Without anything to look to or even pick up in terms of a brochure, anything like that.
Yes.
Yes, I was often met with, what do you have? I still am met with,
Me too.
what is that again?
Absolutely.
How do you pronounce it?
And so what do you think all doctors should remember?
I think all doctors should remember that no matter how grim the patient's prognosis is, that it's as important what you say as what you don't say. In other words, a lot is communicated through silence and the lapse of time, and that your patient deserves to feel hope about their life, even if that life is coming to an end. That person deserves and needs to feel some form of hope. It's a very human thing to want to feel hopeful about our lives.
Yes.
I want to bring that in my book. I want to bring that sense of possibility to people who are suffering, because a lot of the suffering we go through with cancer it's very emotional. It's isolating, and our life as we knew it disappears, and then we're here in this new life with new challenges that we never imagined. And one of the only things that we can still have that's ours, that can't be taken away, is hope. That's the central aspect of the human spirit.
Yes, absolutely.
And
so
it's
well
right for
articulated.
doctors to remember that.
Absolutely. You use the image in the book of your life as a boat and your journey as a river. That imagery resonated greatly with me, and I was wondering what inspired you to use that imagery?
Well, it wasn't so much that I sat and thought, let me see what can I use. It really came naturally for me when I was writing it as the natural metaphor for the real emotions that I was feeling. So I was writing in a state of, very much in a state of recovery. When I began writing the book, I weighed about, I think, 102 pounds at that point.
Oh my goodness.
I was seriously on the recovering end, and I began very slowly and taking care of myself as I went along, and it was quite a process, but really it was just the real raw emotion I was feeling and putting down on the page. I love the river. That's my favorite body of water. I love that you can sit next to it and watch it go by. It invites you to quiet your thoughts and let those go as well. It changes all the time, and it's something that I feel very close to and very attached to. And growing up in Colorado, that's the body of water that was part of and is part of my life every day.
That's so beautifully put and so articulate, and it reminds me of reading your book and how poetic and how beautiful it's written.
Thank you.
Carrie, do you feel triumphant?
Yes, I do feel triumphant. That's a very bold word, but I thank you for inviting me to go ahead and claim it. I do feel triumphant.
And explain to me in what way? Because, you know, I use that word because I remember when we met a few years ago, and I see where you are now. You had a goal, and you said it. Your family is so loving and supportive, and here you are with this incredible book that is going to move the lives of so many people.
Well, I feel that way because I had wanted to be a writer my whole life, and that idea started when I was about 8 years old. I remember thinking that and my reasons for that, and I had always put it in this other compartment of my life for someday later, and one thing cancer has done for me is invited me to stop mingling with later and sit down with right now instead. And that's the spirit in which I sat down to begin writing what I thought was first a letter, and then I thought, no, this is more of an article. And then I realized around page 67 that, my goodness, I think I've got my book coming out and my voice. And I like to say that while cancer rendered me speechless, I found my voice, and I'm using it to hopefully alleviate the sense of isolation and suffering that I felt. I didn't feel there was really an exact book that would hold my hand and sit with me in the middle of the night and make me feel like I can do this.
Yes.
And that's what I hope to give to other people, because a lot of people don't have the support in terms of the close family members that I have. So.
Right. And I love that, I love what you just said. Was it Stop Mingling with Later?
With Later.
That could be the title of a wonderful speech for all cancer patients, couldn't it? Stop mingling with later.
Yes, well, the title of that speech that I want to give is called Speechless, actually. So maybe you'll hear it sometime.
I'd love to.
It's an inspirational talk that I hope to give that isn't very long, but hopes to inspire others to find their voice. And it's okay to do that, even if they tell you you're dying and in short order. It's okay to go ahead and say, but wait.
Yes, I
have something
to say. Contribute. Absolutely.
Yes.
Turning back to our own specific cancer, do you think that carcinoid cancer patients have different challenges compared to other cancer patients? And if so, what are they, in your opinion?
Yes, I do, now that I know more about the entire experience. We do have more challenges in the fact that it is such a rare disease and there's so little known about it, its causes or what to do with it, even how to treat it, that it is a very frightening, one has a sense that, oh my goodness, there is nothing that can be done for me, and no one even has heard of this, so what am I to do? And
yes,
I think that the foundation that you have started really is bringing a lot of hope there, because I don't know anyone else that is doing actual research to look into a cure for this. So this is why I think the work you're doing is so important around that. But on the other side of this, though, cancer is cancer is cancer. And I think you find that immediate bond sort of with anyone that has cancer, and it doesn't matter what kind. It's just, it has all the same traits of, you know, chasing us down the alley with the pitchfork. And you know, and we're kind of saying, stop.
Right, image, right.
So, you know, it's very much the same ride, but I feel that I'm kind of on that ride in a way that's more blinded, and that is very disturbing.
Yes, yes. I like the term that you used at one point in the book, which is merry medical go-round. Carcinoid patients, like other cancer patients with silent or rare cancers, have such a difficult time getting diagnosed. I've heard many stories from patients about how they were misdiagnosed for years, or they just gave up altogether for a while. Have you heard that too in speaking with other patients?
I have.
Or maybe in your own experience.
This is how rare carcinoid is. You are the only other patient I've really had a real conversation with. And I've met a few more at a run for hope that's done in Colorado by Jeannie Lambert. She put together an event, and that's where we met.
That's where we met,
so,
yes.
But it's not like you can just go to a support group meeting, at least in my town.
Yes, it's very true.
I have never met anyone in my town, so I can't have that conversation. But the conversations I have had in my support groups are very similar, in that being diagnosed with carcinoid is extremely difficult. It's misread for irritable bowel syndrome. It's misread for hot flashes, as it was in my case, and all sorts of things. But yes, one gets the sense that they are on this merry-go-round, the medical merry-go-round, and running in the same circle that is leading them nowhere.
Yes. For as long as William, your youngest, has been alive, you've been diagnosed with metastatic carcinoid cancer.
Right.
Have you found yourself parenting him differently from your other two children?
Yes, I feel that I parent them all differently, and that is to say that I want to spoil them all sort of in rapid time, and that's one of those struggles that you meet as a parent when you do have cancers, that you want to do all these things that you would let come naturally in life for later. You want to sort of do them all now. But I try to restrain myself from doing that and taking away from actual real moments, and that in one way sort of helps to pin me to the future, that, I don't need to do that for my daughter just now. She's going to be this age in several years, and then then I can buy her the pearls, so to speak. So I did wait, and she did turn 18, and I did buy her the pearls, but she was only 13 when I had that thought. So again, we're back to hope.
Yes, that's
Aren't we?
true.
Pearls of hope, I suppose you could say.
Yes, that's really beautiful. Absolutely. The dominant message, I think, that anyone facing a challenge needs to have this feeling of hope, which is again why I feel that there's such a sense of universality for all of us who are facing challenges of any kind in your book.
Yes, but I want to say also that one thing that is so important to remember is that I think a lot of what we wanted to do and what we thought we were going to do in life ends up being about what we want to do for the people we love. And we feel so suddenly torn from that opportunity that, I wanted to do this for my child, or that for my husband, or see this event unfold in my future. But go ahead and think about those things and pursue doing for other people the things that you thought about, and perhaps some of those things should be done now. And that's what I'm talking about when I say enough with later. Let's just get to the moment right now.
Stop mingling with later.
Right.
Let's
if you
do
wanted
it
to
right
write
now.
your child that letter, write it. And if you wanted to tell a person in your life how much you love them and let something go from the past, do it. And that's so pertinent for everyone. Forget cancer aside. This is just an amazing way to live, because you're so much happier
Yes.
in the moment right now.
Absolutely, and I think this touches on something that I found to be very to be so dramatic actually in my own life. When I was diagnosed with cancer at 30, and we were both very young, we were diagnosed with an extensive amount of cancer, and you realize that what's most important in your life comes into stark focus, and what's important are the people that you love. I remember wondering so many times if having cancer is harder on the people that you love or on yourself, and if it's harder to have cancer because you see how much the people who love you are suffering, or if it's what you must endure. It's a very interesting questions to think about that I started thinking about also when I was reading your book.
Yes, it is a mix of both of those things. We don't want the people who love us to lose, and they don't want to lose us. And it goes both ways, but I think particularly as a parent, and anyone with children knows this, one wants to rescue their child from experiencing the thought of this loss, because that forces a child to grow up in a way to be stripped of a certain innocence that you don't want them to lose.
Absolutely.
So quickly. So that's
Very
just
true.
one aspect of it, but it does go both ways. I think all cancer patients consider those very things that you're bringing up.
Have your children read your book? And if So what did they think? And if not, why do you think?
No, they haven't read it. Although some of my nieces and nephews have, interestingly, but I think it's because they are one step removed and can handle maybe looking at their aunt possibly dying. I think it's much different for the kids knowing I have cancer and having their own fears built into that and possibly feeling afraid of reading my book. I think they will read it when it's just right for them. And in William's case, that could be 15 years from now. He's only 6 now, so.
That makes sense.
So I don't know when they will, but I hope that it will be a meaningful thing for them at the time when they choose to read it.
And my final question is that you write at several points in the book that you felt very alone. I know you were very young when you were diagnosed, as I was. Did that contribute to your feeling of being alone? I certainly felt that a little bit.
I don't think it is as much age-related, although that does play a part in it. Although I've met many patients in their 70s, 60s, 50s that have that same sense, and that got me thinking, why do we feel so isolated? And I hope to answer that in the book.
And I think you do. Carrie, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm grateful to you for being a dear friend and for writing such a beautiful book. I think that your memoir is something that will be of inspiration to anyone who has faced a challenge and who wants to read about how to be inspired, how to connect with the world, with loved ones, and how to keep going. And it's fundamentally, it is a wonderful, enduring love story. The love of a husband for his wife, of a mother for her children, and sisters for each other. I was very moved to tears at several points in your book. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.